Hi there, this is my Ostrogoth Warband I painted a while ago. Starting off with the manufacturer. All of the models from this range, or from this warband, are from Footsore that I'm showing here today. They have a starter army for 4 points for the Ostrogoths, so that they're all mounted with 2 points of warriors, 2 points of Hearthguard, and the Warlord. So this is the first group of warriors. Really like the models. There's about 50-50 split between warriors with helmets and the warriors without. Unfortunately, I couldn't get all of the ones with the helmets. I do tend to like my warriors having at least a helmet, but the sculpts are really nice. I'm using the steel spears that you buy separately. They start off at 100 millimeters, but I cut them down to about 50 millimeters, just to make it look kind of in scale. Quick note on the painting. I went for kind of earthy, natural looking colors, nothing over the top, but I still wanted it to look like it was all part of one warband, so I mostly tried to get some green somewhere on each of the models. I did that either by putting on one of the clothes or using the spear to tie everything together. I'm not too worried about it looking like a fantasy army where everything has to look really uniform. That's the way people tend to paint it. Since once you add the shields, and these are Little Big Men Studio decals on the shields, it really mixes it up, and there's no worry that it just looks all uniform. Next up, 1 point of Hearthguard. You can see that the Hearthguard models are looking a lot more armored with their chainmail. It's really easy to distinguish them from just the regular warriors. They also have slightly fancier helmets, with some of them having plumes and capes. I didn't really think too much about the shield decals I used. I may have used slightly fancier looking shield decals for the Hearthguard, but nothing over the top. These ones, I haven't actually gone back and painted all of the spears, so some of them have just a kind of a wooden finish on the spears. That's a little bit of an oversight, so I might go back some point and update that. You can see for the horses, I essentially airbrushed all of them in one go and just kind of made a little mix of going either a little bit more reddish brown or more tan. Some of the horses are also quite dark brown. Next group of Hearthguard. As with the other ones, I think I kind of split the horse colors in just split everything by kind of in thirds. So third are dark brown, third are tan, third are reddish brown, with some tones in between. Just kind of when I don't fully clean my airbrush between colors, it gives a nice little natural progression in colors. Again, just using the spears here to tie everything together without going overboard on the green. Really like the way the yellow came out, just to give a little accent to the greens. It all went together quite well, and limiting the yellow to just the spears also avoids kind of going over the top on looking like a really colorful warband. Onto the Warlord. I like putting two models onto a Warlord base. It tends to be just the Warlord himself, and then a banner bearer. It helps distinguish it from everything else going on. I think I've put him on a 60 millimeter base, which fits it quite comfortably. Again, I put in some extra effort to make everything tie in using the greens and yellows on the spears. Most of the Warlord is actually covered in armor. He's got some additional armor on his thighs as well, just to make him look suitably heroic. Close-up of one of the spears. It really helps kind of push the models a little bit further. Spears tend to be a little bit of an afterthought for most people, but if you manage to get in a color that's complementary to your overall paint scheme, or just use it to tie everything together, it can really make them stand out. Here I've got some more models. I think these are actually from the late Roman or Britain range from Footsore, but I just use them as Hearthguards in my Goths just to mix everything in. Goths were used as auxiliaries in the late Roman period by the Roman army, so it's really not a big deal, so they should fit in quite nicely. Again, some more models, again just showing a little close-up on the spears. Work in progress shot of the Warband. You can see the metal Warband in progress behind the Levy Archers. The Levy Archers are just from Gripping Beast, and they're so generic you can use them for a number of periods, so I use them as Levy in the Dark Ages, and also in for my Pagan peoples actually. So I talked a little bit earlier about just how the horses were colored, so this is just giving you I think this is the base coat of the horses. So I do tend to just prime everything black and then add a zenithal highlight of gray or white just to hit the top parts, and then really watered down color over the top, and then very minimal highlighting. I find with these metal models you really have to varnish them with a reasonable layer, especially if you play with them a lot and transport them, and kind of having all those layers to varnish on top of it, you lose a lot of the highlights. So I did it for the first few horses, spent a lot of time on the highlights, and then eventually just saw that they were all washed away anyway by the varnish, so I've you can cut some corners there a little bit and it still looks reasonable. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and talk to you soon.